Hutch Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire Stick TV, Facebook, and YouTube. Get all your sports news here first. The daily podcasts are Ken and Ken in the Morning, Lions Talk with Smoking Jeremy B, Wrestling Roundup, The Big Football Show, and more, Shield TV, Lions Villain Report, and Red Zone Rant. The afternoon podcasts are Valhalla, Grosef Sports, WCFL Dolphins Talk, The Cheap Seats, The Bodkin Show, Spirit of Detroit Podcast, and Maniacs. The nightly podcasts are Hallis Hall Report, Frozen Tundra Network, Skull Gang 365, The Huddle Sports Network Open Mic, First and 10 with Foz, Main Event Football Show, Prime Sports World, The Man Cave, Prim and Proper Sports. Spitballing Podcast, Lions Fan Cave Chat, Puckett, 313 Den Podcast, The Guys Huddle, Shots from the Sideline, Let's Talk Sports, The Michigan Truth Sports Podcast, Off the Rails, NFC Northeast, Power Hours, and Detroit Lions News. Make sure you follow, like, share, subscribe, and comment. Hope you like all the shows.
Here locally in the community, make sure y'all go check out Kneecap Body by Kerby.
Good afternoon. We got Ricky Saccott and Davey in the chat. Davey saying good afternoon, One Pride, and good afternoon, Mr. Jeremy B. Got Buddy Conquito. Yes. Christian Mahogany, DJ Reader, Gibbs and Arnold are all working with trainers and one-on-one drills and coaches on the sidelines. This is great news for the Lions because now DJ Reader is back in camp and working out. Rakestraw actually returned to team practice snaps. So we are almost healthy. They're saying the other four should be back taking snaps at practice next week to prepare for week one. Moonscar Blade and Fred Peterson, Will Vogel. Look at you guys coming out of the woodworks. Good afternoon. It's a great day to be a Lion. One Pride. Lunchtime with JB. And Will Bogg saying good afternoon, sir. This is great news about the depth here that these starters are returning to practice. Especially Christian Mahogany. Everybody was worried that he was going to be a bubble cut. I didn't see it. If you look, Sorsdahl has done. We don't have a big injury list. We have a big injured reserves of a bunch of backups that were barely going to make the team. League Jefferson wasn't making the team anyways. Traquan Smith did nothing when the lights were on and got hurt. So therefore he's gone. That makes room. And Derice Fontaine hasn't shown anything in game yet. So I don't see a lot of concern with the injury list. Good afternoon, everyone, and Mr. JB from Brent. Our injury list is actually quite small compared to some teams. Look at the 49ers. Their injury report looks like the 2020 Lions. Oh, yeah. The stats of William Clay and Melissa Ford. Good God. 372 to 523 and 15 under Sheila Hamp, Chris Spielman, and Brad Holmes. Dan Campbell is 31, 34, and 1. I know. It's amazing that we're even there. Just think about it. As long as we go like I think it's Clemens at this point. I was gonna get into that. I have my bubble. Mike Marsh, what's good, JB? Um, it's bubble watch time. And Brent says, yes, Fred, we are on the way up. 100%, my brother. Uh, People returning healthy. That's what's important. The guys that were starters are actually all at camp and practicing. Granted, it's only one-on-one drills with training staff and coaches, but they're there now. Gibbs, Arnold, Reader, Mahogany. Those were 4 names we haven't heard all preseason. You know, I think Clemens beat out Kingsley. Kingsley is probably going to be one of the ones protected on the practice squad at some point throughout the season. Remember, you can only protect 4 players for a maximum of 4 weeks, and they got to be called up to the active roster. Trace is in the chat. Brent, haven't seen Paul Jones yet. Where's Paul Jones so I can add Ricky and Paul's music with Smoking Dad? Because I know many of us have always said we need ownership to turn this franchise around, and here we are. Trace and Brent exchanging pleasantries, but I and Rakestraw is actually playing it in the team stuff. He was back with the trainers last week, and now he's back out there. But yesterday at camp, players that made plays of note: DPJ, St. Brown, Kerby, Hutch, Branch, and Montgomery had a day Tuesday. I wouldn't have gave you that mug. I'd have made one for you that represents your team, brother. But if you'd have chosen the FTT mug to shoot, that'd have been hilarious to see that video. And yes, and now we're at 503. We're still growing. But Christian Mahogany is finally off of whatever that illness was that has still not been released. And the fact he's out there practicing and it took him about 4 weeks to get there, I'm leaning towards something like an appendectomy or a splenectomy that either was one of those two, because that's about the recovery time for that surgery. So, hallelujah, he's back. I don't know if it was that. I'm just throwing guesses out there. So don't quote me as that was it. It could have been long-term COVID, which takes 3 or 4 weeks to get over. Some people it takes 6 to 9 months, but we're talking about conditioned athletes. But all 4 of those guys, Mahogany, Reader, Gibbs, and Arnold, will be back taking team snaps next week. So therefore, they get a chance to get into a little bit of game shape. We got all sorts of pleasantries going on. Joseph Austin was number 502 here, and hello, everyone. Yes, sir. And you were in there. It just ended up going to one of the early guys. No offense to anyone. There's a reason why I do the 12 repetitions on that randomizer. Um, it legitimizes it. It allows it not to be a one-time thing. And I didn't give it to somebody that was picked twice because no one was picked twice out of 502 entries at the time. But congrats again to James Burgess. He's getting a KCB sports shirt and a mug. He decided to go with our NFL draft mug from when it was in Detroit. This is one that Leonard designed himself. Yeah, you were the 500 sub. I left everybody in the order they were. But I'm glad to have you back as a. So let's get into this. What what guys are you looking at on Bubble Watch? I'm looking at guys. I kind of agree with David Barnett that came on here yesterday and said something about a Hakeem Butler. Um, Woodward Sports said that instead of cutting James Houston, who's been absolute straight booty cheeks, lately, trading him for Adam Thielen, but I don't know if they'd make that trade straight up. Yeah, you were in the 30s, Brent. You were one of my first. Pat Rothwell, a big hey to JB. JMO, no, he's not on the bubble watch. Jesus, Dorn, that's a homer stuff there. 476. 476 there, Ricky Sakat. No, 376. Excuse me. I was off by 100. 376 is your ID tag. Will, you were back. God, you were back with me when we were in the 150s. I want to say you were around 130 when you subbed. You've been here a long time, brother, and I appreciate you. Almost all of last season and this season, and part of the season before that. So far, we got 12 people viewing and 6 likes out there. Now 13. Pull my Pat Rothwell, you joined right around the draft time, I believe it was. Uh, Jameson Williams set up another game-winning setup. Uh, the pass was a little too deep, and he couldn't control it in the back of the end zone. But Goff found Amon-Ra St. Brown to win practice yesterday. We do have a great Lions community. Oh yeah, you've been here a long time, Joseph Austin. You argued with me for about a year and a half. I know you've been here for a little bit. You just subbed late. It's okay. Just got another. Oh, yeah, there we go. Let's keep it rolling. Has anybody heard anything about Wingo? Wingo is likely going to make the roster, but he's going to be at the back end of the defensive tackle. Easy to score on that weak defense. Yeah. Okay. Keep going with the homer takes. Is it wrong to think that Chicago, due to their historical failure, should be relegated to the XFL? If we're going to talk about historical failures, the Lions should have been there 20 years ago. I'm not I'm not ready for that shit talk yet. Packers have all the rights to talk as much shit with Bears fans as they want. But I believe Wingo's made the roster. I think we're keeping 6. And I'll tell you why. Because even if they haven't been great, they are veteran professionals. And I think we're going to keep somebody like DPJ because he does have punt return ability. He does have kick return ability. Um, he has had, God, 884 punt return yards with a touchdown in his career. So is- and DPJ made some big plays yesterday. Caught an out route, uh, made an end zone catch, did very good in the one-on-ones, and he had Carlton Davis on him. The Bears will be searching for a new coach next year, possibly. Um, like I said, if they don't win at least 8 games, it's not a good look because they are a better roster than they had last year as a whole. My only question marks with the Bears is their O line still. I don't know how well it's going to gel because you haven't seen enough reps in preseason in game situation, and they may struggle at first. I agree there, John Dorn. I think we're going to keep 5 off of our current roster, and I think that 5 is probably Isaiah Williams, and I'm going to go from the bottom up, and I'm not saying Isaiah Williams is 5. Isaiah Williams, DPJ, Khalif Raymond, um, Jamison Williams, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think those are the 5 safe guys. Everybody else has gotta earn it, and I think they will end up bringing somebody in or trading a commodity for somebody. Uh, and I'm not saying they're gonna make a big splash trade like all the other places are saying. There might be one of those small player in a late round pick for not next year's draft, the year after's draft to get somebody. I think Khalif Raymond is our 3, and everybody else is fighting for the 4 spot between DPJ and Isaiah Williams. The Bears are feared by all the NFL. Stay away from Turi. Okay. No, I'm thinking a guy I'm watching to see if he makes the team or not is that Hakeem Butler for Cincinnati. 6'5", 4'4". Uh, was a big reason why the Blackhawks, Battlehawks, won the UFL championship. That guy had NFL numbers in 8 games in their regular season. December 20 No, it was December 2022, Boggs. Yeah, I think we're gonna keep 5 on there. I think we do keep 4 running backs and 4 tight ends. I think we're gonna keep 9 to 10 offensive linemen. I think we're gonna keep 5 wide receivers, and then the 3rd QB does not count against the roster. And guess what? I don't I don't know if it's gonna be Suckfeld or Jake Fromm at this point. But Campbell saying that Sudfeld is looking like our QB2 is killing me because I got the numbers say it's Hendon Hooker. Giving Sudfeld credit for that touchdown on a check down where a guy made the play with his legs more than his arm, I don't like that. Caden Davis is possibly a guy they might keep. Oh, about the Bears going to Oh, no, he's a Packers fan. Um, I think that 4th spot is in between Mitchell and Hess. I I don't think Mitchell's done enough to stay on the active roster myself. So that's well, some people say Dobbs, other people say Reed, but Dobbs have struggled with drops as of late. So it's looking like Jaden Reed might be your wide receiver 1 per se, with Watson as the 2 and Dobbs as the 3. Bull Melton might be your odd man out in Green Bay, is what I'm hearing. Because Dontavian Wicks has surpassed him. I'm just being honest. I'm going with the eye test and what I'm seeing statistically in your preseason games. So, Mike Marsh, I got to ask, would you add some tanninite to that tumbler if you were going to explode it? Because I might buy it and send it to you just to see the video. Because it'd be great to see the Packers emblem explode. Yes, Trace, thank you. 19 watching and 13 likes. I love it. I still think Green Bay having no standout wide receiver 1 is a likely thing, not having an obvious required double block. Yeah, and at the same time, The the 3 or 4 that I named are actually good enough when they're on the field, you almost can't double somebody. And maybe I can get that at my local farm, Fleet Farms Supply. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. 'Cause that would be hilarious of a video. Yeah, they have Watson, but Watson has always had drop issues and, health concerns. His hamstrings are held together by segmented toothpicks and rubber cement. Until he can stay healthy for an entire season, nobody knows what to expect out of Watson. I mean, his drop numbers have gotten better each year, but he still struggles, especially early in the season with drops, and I think it's due to lack of reps. Um, that's something to think about, with the lack of starters playing in the preseason like they used to. We're seeing like the first few weeks of the NFL is kind of like the dress rehearsals that you would have seen in preseason. So there's a good possibility we're never going to see an undefeated season again unless it's a team that plays their starters a lot in the preseason, also known as the Chiefs. It's chewing gum. He couldn't afford rubber cement, Ken Catalone said. Oh, Ken is our Packer backer that comes on the shows on Wednesdays and Sundays. You're in for tonight, right, Ken? I'm going to be checking the signings and injuries again on the NFL Roundup on NFL.com. I'm going to find us a few topics to talk about, and then we'll go over the preseason pick'ems again. Hey, and lo and behold, yep, they don't do joint practices. That's why they play their starters in preseason. I don't think it's possible for any team to go 17-0 with the lack of preseason starter snaps. The first half of preseason, week 3, used to be the starting roster test, and then they reduced the preseason to 3 games. And when they go to 18 games, they're talking about reducing it to 2. Mike says he'll try to make it tonight. We'll have 2 Packer backers on there. How about that? You know, that's my envision, is having multiple guests from multiple teams. And the reason why is it makes for a better show. You don't get to be all homers the entire Packers will go 6-0 in the division. I don't see that happening, Dorn. I I wouldn't be surprised if there's 3 teams going 4-2 and 1 team going 0-6. You figure it out. But I'm looking forward to read what happened at Lions camp today so I can report on it tomorrow because that's what I like. Can we ever get out from under Trashfeld? God, I hope so. Because if they make Hooker the emergency quarterback, Mahomes might go 17-0. Sleeping with the refs does wonders. Yeah, we know about this last year. Expand the damn roster to 60 or 63. Yeah, if they go to 18, T-Bone Lokes, I find it hard to believe that DPJ isn't a mismatch in a 3 receiver set. The problem with DPJ is he has decent speed, but he can't create separation. He is not that great of a route runner. He makes good contested catches when he wants to. The problem is we haven't seen that want to until recently. I think he realized he was on the bubble. Isaiah Williams and Caden Davis has outplayed him this preseason when he's been on the field. Vikings will hold the Bears in the basement. Book. So you got the Bears going 0-6 this year, and the rest of us going 4-2 with splitting with each other? Got it. Or everybody be 3-3 then except for the Bears. Got it. I don't see that with the Bears. I see them splitting with Green Bay. I think they'll finally win their first home game versus Green Bay in God forever. DPJ's size, his athleticism, and all that screams that he should be better than he is, but we haven't seen it. So until we see it, I gotta say he's not. And I'm not even trying to be mean about it. Guys who came out of college with poor old lines that's had horrible careers because of it. David Carr, when he went to the Texans, very talented receiver coming out, quarterback coming out of college. Hey, I was on your side until I tried to give up our annual Bears sweep. Hey, Ken, all I'm going to say, you'd rather them win it at Soldier Field than at Green Bay. Anquan Bolden would just box out the DB. Yes. Anquan Bolden was a rare breed of receiver. And St. Brown's kind of in that mold. He's like Anquan Bolden with the toughness of Steve Smith. Now, I understand that. We know about the depth on the defense. There is a chance of that, and we can lay that out because I think the NFC West isn't as strong as it used to be. Yeah, he made a clutch reception towards the end of the season, but he was struggling through ever since we got him. It took him at least 5 weeks before he finally had a clutch play. I uh, I love DPJ in college. Don't get me wrong. I wanted us to draft him. Yes, I understand that, Brent. I wasn't questioning our defense. Steve Smith, great comp. Yeah, he's got the hands of Anquan Bolding, the route running of Anquan Bolding, and the toughness of Steve Smith. That's what I see out of. I'm just saying that defense is going to keep him in games. No, a rumor is, well, it's not a rumor anymore. Adam Schefter reported yesterday that CD Lamb and the Cowboys are very close to a deal. He expects something done by the weekend. So you'll finally see CD Lamb take some snaps in practices for the Cowboys next week. We saw IU stop holding out and start practicing last week, even though he looked like his jumpsuit was made by Kim Kardashian and the Ninjas. Unless they play love. I just I think that defense is what's gonna keep them in games, brother. It's kinda like Minnesota. I don't think they're gonna be as bad as we all project because that defense is very well coached. Offensively, they're less than desirable. They got great wide receivers. They got Aaron Jones. They got a suspect middle of the old line in Sam Darnold. I say teams need to throw out holograms on the field of Vikings players during games to confuse Sam Darnold with his ghost. I was mostly talking to the other fans, the evil empire. Yes, yes. We are the rebellion, they are the empire. That's the way it's been, and I get it. We got Admiral Agbar going, "It's a trap." But we can't take any team lightly. That's my point. We have to go into the season with that same chip on the shoulder that we had last year. Because when we went 9-8, everybody says, "Oh, you got to do it again." Darth Love. No, it's Darth LaFluke. Goody is the emperor right now. Brian Flores probably has a black mark for getting a head coach job because of throwing his owner under the bus with what happened with the whole tanking for Burrow situation when he refused to tank and they ended up with Tua. And at the same time, the owner should thank him. Tua's played more games in the NFL than Joe Burrow. Tua's had better numbers in the NFL than Joe Burrow so far. They just haven't got it done because their defense folds like a cheap suit in cold weather. They need better defense. James Ramsey isn't it. And Flores was hard on his players. Tua came out and said it and how hard he was on him because he didn't want Tua either. He wanted Herbert. Jerry said talks with Lamb are promising. They're working on a new deal. Yep. He turned down 33.5. I think he wants Jay Jetta's money. Right. After his Tua work, I don't think he gets a job as a head coach for a while. He almost ruined him. And that's just it. Sometimes people are better suited to be coordinators. Your guys that you hear that are player coaches at the coordinator position, they're usually the ones that do better at head coaching jobs later on. LaFleur was a player's coach OC. AG is a player's coach DC. As much as we don't like him, the players love him. Oh, I see. Tanking don't work for the Pistons. We need a few number one picks. You're absolutely right. Oh my God. But at the same time, guess who's hardly missed a game in the NFL? Just hasn't had a great team around him to get the job done. And that's been Justin Herbert. He plays almost every damn game. I think he's missed what, three, maybe four games in his career. Tua, Herbert. I think Goff does has input because the rumor is DPJ's making the team. Goff does like him and started to build a rapport with him, and he has a great rapport with him on the field. You have to remember, DPJ plays in the slot as the 3 or 4 wide receiver with the ones at practice, and then goes out there with Sudfeld with the twos. We all said Sudfeld sucks. He has troubles getting him the ball. The only one that's been able to complete a pass to DPJ this offseason has been Hendon Hooker. Hmm. Right. Moonscar Blade, you're absolutely right. And Goff is actually, when players have been off the field and needed subs in, has completed passes to Isaiah Williams and Caden Davis. Hence why I said that. Therese Fontaine has not shown up at all when the lights have been on. Now, granted, he was playing with Dudfeld, Suckfeld, Trashfeld, whatever you want to call him. So maybe Therese Fontaine stays on as the 6th wide receiver and we don't go get anybody. But at the same time, we got a bunch of these guys that are 6'1" or shorter. And the only decently tall guy we got left since Green hit the IR is DPJ. Because Green was 6'2" and 5'8", just like DPJ. So they'd have been the tallest wide receivers on the team. I think Tom Kennedy goes back to the practice squad. There's a reason why nobody on another team picks him up. Because they know the Lions will take him back on the practice squad with no problem. And he's just that guy that comes out in case of injury and does something that he's not the fastest guy, he's not the tallest guy, he just works harder than everybody else. And I'm not dogging Tom Kennedy, he just is that type of gritty guy that they love to have as the backup to the backups. I hope that makes sense how I worded it. It did in my head. I think the guys that have played their way off the team, Kendall Vildor, Stephen Gilmore in the cornerback room, I don't see them making the team. And I also don't see a Sang Pacey, the guy we just signed. Are you talking about Isaiah Williams? Yeah, he didn't have a great 40 time, but he is fast on that field. We've seen it. I love how Goff throws the ball in the dirt in front of the receiver when he knows that it might be a pick or a bad play. Williams ran over 19 miles per hour. If you're talking about Jamison Williams, he ran 24 miles an hour in the NCAA. They kind of are. Well, the XFL is gone. It's now the UFL because the XFL and the USFL combined. Well, you said yes, but you still haven't answered. Are you talking Isaiah or are you talking JMO? Because I'm confused. But Campbell was praising Vildor for one game. I I just think Khalil Dorsey has the edge over him due to special teams play. Yeah, you know what? You know why? Because Campbell ain't the guy that goes out there and says something negative in front of the press about people very often. He doesn't often throw players under the bus. That's why players love him. Praise him in public, chastise him in private. That's what we've seen Dan Campbell do unless somebody needed a kick in the pants to get something started. Oh, Isaiah, okay. Yeah, Isaiah runs 19 to 21 miles per hour. JMO has been clocked in college from 21 to 24 miles per hour. Ennis Rakestraw has been clocked around 22. On Arnold is clocked around 21. Branch was clocked around 21 to 22 miles per hour while he was in college. And we've all seen it. They all look much faster on the field than they did at their combine time. Who do I see making the team at defensive end? Well, we know Davenport and Hutch are the starters right now because they've all but said that. Levi is making it in the defensive tackle room. He's going to be there as either the DT3 or 4. It'll be him and Martin. Yeah, the last game and the game before, Vildor looked awful. So he's had up and down off preseason. That's why I said that. That's why there hasn't been enough consistency in Khalil Dorsey returns kick. Hatter, how's 710? How's things out in LA? Good to see you, brother. But man, I mean, when we're talking about depth, Mosley, if Mosley was healthy, none of those guys would even be considered. Think about that. Because you got Carlton Davis, Amik Robertson, on Arnold, and Rakestraw. We know those 4 are making the team. If Mosley was healthy the way he was playing, he'd be at least the CB5, if not the CB3. That's just my opinion because once he went down with that torn pec, he was done. And instead of waiving him, they put him on the IR. That's something to be think about. You're absolutely right, Trace. I've been saying it all along. Ayuk wants that Jay Jetta's money. He's all but said it. He wants to be paid more than St. Brown. And no one's biting on the draft compensation the 49ers want for him. They did the same thing with Debo. They're going to do the same thing with Ayuk. You can either take what we're offering you, or you can play on your current contract. We don't care. Best cornerback in the division, statistically, Jalen Johnson. I'm not even going to be a homer about it. He's the best cornerback right now in our division. Number 2 is Jair Alexander. If Jair Alexander, sorry, JB, you never finished Houston making the team. It's a huge question. I don't think Houston makes the team. Well, because a torn pec you can return after 10 weeks. I think Mosley's going to replace whoever our CB5 is. I think he comes back to the team. Dak is not getting a contract this year. He's willing to play on his current contract just to get a job somewhere else. He said that himself. Houston is my main guy out of the defensive end room not making it right now. He's lost his bend. He doesn't have the get off, and he has no change of direction skills. I have the feeling he comes back to the practice squad. That's how bad he's played this offseason. Film is out. So we know the starters. I think the backups is going to be between Pascal, Betts, and Uku. I think Uku made this team. And with Reader being at camp practicing, that's the best thing we could have heard. Because everybody was worried he wasn't going to be able to get in to get any. And Brent DeWitt, I love all the distractions that the Niners have. Dak to the Giants next year. There's 3 teams that can afford them, and the Giants are not one of them. The cap clears finally to move on from the Keebler Elf Murray for Arizona. Uh, the Raiders will have enough cap room. Trace, I said it. I said he stole that thumb drive with the incriminating evidence of the coaches that Will Paris and Benito Jones had out of their locker before they were dismissed. And that's why they're gone and he's here because we re-signed him right after that. Eh, Weird how that works. Reader is at practice with the trainers and the coaches, doing individual workouts along with Gibbs, Arnold, and Christian Mahogany is back. T-Bone Loads Reader at practice. Great news. Yes, sir. He returned to the field yesterday to work out with the strength and conditioning trainers and the individual coaches. He wants more than St. Brown with only 2 seasons of worthy work over it. Yes. He said he literally wants to be paid like he's one of the best wide receivers in the game. That was his exact words. Man, here we are, 43 minutes in and great talk. Yeah, he's asking 30 plus and no one will give it to him, nor should they. He's had 2 good years out of 4. I say make him play another season. If he gets a 3rd year of that over that 1,000 to 1,200 yard mark, then he may have earned that type of money somewhere, but it won't be in San Francisco because they can't afford to pay him next year. They were trying to get him on. I know that it was Jonah Jackson. I know their backup right tackle is hurt and their backup center is hurt. Matt Stafford is yet to take practice. He's still dealing with a hamstring strain. He is not even doing individual workouts right now. And Puka Nakua still can't bend his knee. He's not doing individual workouts yet. They got another week to get these guys on the field. How badly will Justin Jefferson fall off being he doesn't have a quarterback anymore? Well, Nate Mullins still managed to get him over 200 yards after Kirk Cousins got him basically 800. Because if you remember when Josh Dobbs came in, that was when Jefferson went down with his injury. Niners and Eagles are both big question marks this season. Both have talent, but chemistry. Absolutely. But I expect I expect Jefferson to still get close to 1,000 yards. I I don't think he's going to fall that far off because he's that talented. He will save bad passes from Darnold or whoever is throwing to him, just like he did last year with the lesser quarterback. Uh, Jordan Addison being out right now with an injury. That's going to hurt them for a few weeks because it's an ankle sprain. It's looking like it's going to be 3 to 6 weeks of recovery time from now. So you may not see him till week 5. That's going to hinder the development because when it looked like they had a good 3, they looked good. Jalen Naylor probably locked down that slot position for the Vikings. He's had a very good camp playing with all strings. His QBR while throwing to him has been over a 109. Jefferson will be earning his pay this year for sure. Yeah, I think if he gets anything over 900 yards with the QB room they got, it's a testament to his talent. That's just me. But yes, compared to the 1,300 and 1,400 yards years, Justin got paid. He's the highest paid wide receiver in the league right now at 35.25 million average per year. So it is what it is. But what has I mean, when you talk about top 5 wide receiver stats, who's made it to the Super Bowl? And I know Ayuk is not worth as much as St. Brown to me, unless he proves it another year. If he proves it another year, then it's consistency. He can't have 1 year up, then 2 years down. Oh, I 100% think the Cowgirls are in for a rough year. I think the surprise team out of the East that could take second place if they get things together and shore up that old line, it's the Washington Commanders. I have them with a big window of wins. My prediction 11 touchdowns and 750 yards. Well, he hasn't had double digit touchdowns in 2 years for Justin Jefferson. I last year he had less touchdowns than St. Brown. Yeah, remember they got mouths to feed there now. So, as more weapons get added, your targets go down. Side note, I'm baffled by the Eagles seemingly falling below the radar as a contender because there's a lot of question marks. Fangio, has he ever, as a defensive coordinator or coach, led a team to a conference championship game? The answer is no. Mm. 50 minutes in. God, where does the time go? This is great. I just got a note about a Kerby Joseph pick. I know he picked one off in the end zone. Can't remember who it was. Oh yeah, Khalif. He was covering Khalif Raymond yesterday. Boy, JB, time sure does fly when you were on. Dark horse contender, Indy. I can't put them there unless I see Richardson stay healthy. Kerby. Yeah, the Eagles are a mystery to figure out. You think they'd have all the talent in the world, but something isn't clicking. They don't look like they got it together yet. As much as I hate to say it, I could see the Packers winning week 1 right now in Brazil. But man, if they gotta wear those throwbacks, oof, yes. Yoli Cruz in the chat. Good to see you. How you doing there, my favorite Packer fan? Darren Ryan, my favorite Minnesota fan. Um, like I said, I don't know what you're talking about because Kerby had the exact same interception count as Kyle Hamilton yesterday, who was considered a top 5 safety. So he's actually got 7 interceptions in 2 seasons. So it's actually not bad for a safety. That's usually. Oh, you didn't add the usual purple boy. But it's great to see you all here. Jetta torches Kirby on. Well, he won't be on the strong safety side this year, so that'll be different. I remember when Jetta couldn't get but 3 catches against 6 targets against Jeff Okuda. Who was helping him in coverage at that time? Oh yeah, that was Kirby. But I'm just saying. 3 catches, 14 yards, no touchdowns. I remember that game very well. And Kirk was throwing to him then. I know you're a top fan of the Vikings. Yes, sir. But Yoli is a top fan of Huddle Sports Network. It is that time of day to do our sponsors. She's a top fan of Skull Gang 365. She's a Packer girl. Stop it. But we got our favorite. Fuck the Bears. Put it in the chat. FDB. And of course, FDB. Yes, sponsor alerts. Yes, they are coming. And of course, this show was brought to you by Brandon Service, right here at the corner of Grand Traverse and West Atherton Road in Flint, Michigan. Flint. Oh, you got to hear it that way. FDP. Flint, where the water is shit, but the tires are great. Used tires starting at $40 and up. New tires. Call 810-233-8230. Talk to George, Red, or myself. I agree, Trace. Fuck the Vikings too. What the hell? Get your quote. If you're getting a new set of tires, mention this ad. You will get $10 off your set of tires. Yeah, Matt Henry says, fuck the Lions. I love it. Hey, If we're not good, we're on a network that caters to a lot of teams. So I'm going to say that our network is the home of the bad takes because we're going to be hated by a lot of teams for our takes. But KCBsports.net is coming soon. Fuck the Vikings. Vikings. Why do you got to say fuck the laurels? You guys don't like laurels? You don't like your victory laurel like in the gladiator days? Jeez. Man, the hate in this place. And you guys don't even like those laurels that go on the top of the head. LOL, I guess it's fair. But remember, as always, try every day to be a better person than you were the day before. It's the only way to make the world a better place. Unless you're talking about your rival fan base, then fuck them. Oh, I know what the FTL is. That's fuck the leopards. You guys are talking about the Jaguars. That's a leopard on their helmet. They call them the Jaguars, but they're leopards. I thought Jaguars were black. But tune in tonight for the NFL Roundtable Talks, where we will go over the rash of injuries and signings throughout the NFL. We will talk about the preseason pick'ems, where the preseason record means about Kyle J. DeBosch featuring Mellon. We will also talk about those preseason pick'ems with the records and where that matters, just like the points on whose line is an enemy. I thought FTL was fuck the lowly cheeseheads. I love it, Brent DeWitt. Who is the 3 worst in the NFL? Three worst what? Franchises? FT Melons. Hey, I like melons. I'm not going to say what type, but I like melons, especially cassava. But tune in tonight at 9 p.m. I'll have Ken Catalone. I will have Mike Johnson, who's a Vikings fan. I will have Mike Marsh, or he said he'll try. It must be depressing to be a Panthers fan. Juicy melons. Yes, I do love juicy melons. They are good. Shout out to all of you guys out here making this possible, because without you guys, the show's no fun. Because when there's no comments, I have nothing to talk about other than the 3 topics. And the 3 topics are usually done in 15 minutes by myself. Dirty. Yes. Why not? But shout out to Huddle Sports Network for allowing me to be on their network, because without it, we probably wouldn't be growing as fast as we are. Shout out to the Melon Network. Yeah, Frozen Tundra. But here's a little word from Huddle Sports.
Huddle Sports Network broadcast. You can find us on Roku TV, Amazon Fire Stick TV, Facebook, and YouTube. Get all your sports news here first. The daily podcasts are Ken and Ken in the Morning, Lions Talk with Smoking Jeremy B, Wrestling Roundup, The Big Football Show, and more, Shield TV, Lions Villain Report, and Red Zone Rant. The afternoon podcasts are Valhalla, Grosef Sports, WCFL Dolphins Talk, The Cheap Seats, The Bodkin Show, Spirit of Detroit Podcast, and Maniacs. The nightly podcasts are Hallis Hall Report, Frozen Tundra Network, Skull Gang 365, The Huddle Sports Network Open Mic, First and 10 with Foz, Main Event Football Show, Prime Sports World, The Man Cave, Prim and Proper Sports. Spitballing Podcast, Lions Fan Cave Chat, Puckett, 313 Den Podcast, The Guys Huddle, Shots from the Sideline, Let's Talk Sports, The Michigan Truth Sports Podcast, Off the Rails. NFC Northeast, Power Hour